What do CEOs need to know about sales these days? A lot. Outdated sales strategies and tactics plague most companies today. Listen to what innovative CEOs and experts have to say about how to change all that with Sales Talk for CEOs. Welcome to Sales Talk for CEOs. My guest today actually went to law school and then ditched all that because he started at a software company and just fell in love with it. Can you imagine? That's a lot of education, but I'm sure every ounce of it went into helping him when he decided to start his business 22 years ago. So my guest, Clate Mask, is an expert in CRM, customer relationship management software, and sales and marketing automation for small and mid-sized companies. And he's going to tell us his journey today. Welcome, Clate.
Thanks so much, Alice. Great to be here with you. Looking forward to our conversation.
And I just want to mention, you just published your new book, which we're going to get into, and that's called Conquer the Chaos. And I know all the CEOs out there are going to want to hear about that. So that's going to be exciting too. But let's start with telling everybody just a little bit about what Keap does and who you serve.
Yeah. So Keap is small business automation. We serve small businesses with 2 to 100 employees. Kind of our ideal customer starts with us when they're around 10 employees, million in revenue. And what we do is we automate marketing, sales, service, and operations so that businesses can not only grow, but do it much more efficiently. Because many times small businesses kind of lose the profit, the freedom that they were looking for in the first place. And even if growth is going, there can be a lot of inefficiency. So our business automation software is all about helping small businesses get the growth, profit, and freedom that they want.
I love that. And I love that you offer a solution for customer relationship management, CRM, and sales and marketing automation that's affordable and really the right size for small and mid-sized companies. It always pains me when smaller companies try to take on Salesforce. No offense, love Salesforce for big companies, but it's just too much, too complicated, and too hard really to implement when you're a small company. And it doesn't really do all the things you need it to do.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Keap really combines all of those business automations that you need in one place where it's super easy for everyone to use.
Yeah, that's right. Salesforce is great for enterprises. HubSpot's great for the mid-market companies, but small businesses need something different. And that's what we do at Keap. It's not just the software. We provide the strategy, the services, a whole solution to help small businesses grow profitably.
Yeah, ensuring that your customers are successful using what you sold them. I love that.
That's right.
So take us back 22 years ago. You finished law school, you went to work for a software company, and then how on earth did you get the idea to start this company? Tell us the story of what happened.
Yeah, you bet. Well, the truth is I was in software at a company out of school thinking, hey, I'll do this for a little while. I'd worked there during my last year of graduate school. I thought, I'll do this for a little while because I really love this company. They made me a good offer that was better than what law firms were paying. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. So I figured I would do it for a short period of time. It was the internet bubble. I knew that things were kind of a little, I think irrational exuberance was the term of the day. And I believe that was happening, but I thought, let's just ride this wave for a little while. So I did it and had a ton of fun, expecting to go practice law at some point. And after a couple of years, our company got acquired and things were a little less fun, a little less high paced and energetic. And so I thought, it's probably time for me to go take the bar exam, go practice law. And so I took the bar exam and got my results, told my employer, hey, I'm going to go leave. We kind of negotiated a first of the year departure. It was early September when I got my results and I knew I was going to go practice law, orchestrated my departure, and then 9/11 hit.
Oh.
And when that happened, law firms stopped hiring, everything changed, of course. And it really kind of took me off the path that I thought I was going to go on to go practice law for a while. And instead, I began kind of forging a new path And that led me to work with my wife's two younger brothers who were software developers, and they had some things going, and they lived back where we're from in Arizona, and we started talking, and one thing led to another, and I joined them as a co-founder in their software company, and that was the beginning.
Oh my gosh. Wow. All right. So you started this little software company with family, kind of.
Yes, that's
Right.
right.
And what did that grow into?
Well, initially it was just a custom software company that I thought we would, build up and sell off, and I'd be able to pay off my student debt and, get some money and invest in real estate because that's what everybody did in Arizona. And so I kind of had this view that it was going to be a short stint. But what happened was, first, we began to move out of custom software and into products for customers, specifically CRM products. And it was all, web-based. The whole SaaS was this new thing. It wasn't even called SaaS back then. It was
Right,
called,
right.
web-based software, I think, or something. But anyway, we started to create a product, and we started to really find our niche with a customer that needed that product, and we were the customer ourselves using the product. And so all of those things converged to where I began to see the power of our product, and I began to fall in love with the business. And so, it didn't all happen overnight. It was about, 3 years or so of really tough sledding, working through all of that. But we got to where we created our business, and knew our niche and started to really go after it. And from that point, once we started to be successful and started to build the business, I didn't want to sell the business anymore. I wanted to build it and create something really great. And so that's when we began looking at raising capital and establishing a real vision for the company of where we could go. And the business began to take off. It took us about 5 years or so of getting the business to where, we kind of found our niche, where we were being successful, and where we created a vision that we could really begin to live into.
So when did it become Keap? Was it Keap from the beginning, or where was that
Yeah.
transition?
Yeah, great question. It wasn't Keap from the beginning. It was Infusionsoft, and we built Infusionsoft as the leader in marketing automation for small businesses. We raised over $100 million of capital. We built the business to over $100 million a year in revenue. And a few years back, we decided, hey, we want to go expand the market downward. And that's not a really wise move as a software CEO. I'll tell you, it's one of the great mistakes that I made. Um, but we tried to go down market to solopreneurs because that's where 90% of small businesses are. But what we learned was that's not our market. That's not where those customers don't need automation. They don't have a serious business. They're in that same place that we were in during those first few years where it was so tough and we were trying to figure things out. And so, long story short, I went through a lot of changes with our investors, our board, our management team. I lost control for a few years, and it wasn't until I came back, and we got clear on our target customer, back focused on business automation, that we established Keap to be the leader in small business automation. So whereas Infusionsoft was marketing automation, Keap is business automation. Same target customer, but for a more evolved need that the customer has to automate their marketing, sales, service, and operations.
Well, and I think a lot of us will remember Infusionsoft, of course. So what happened to that? Did it kind of get, melded into Keap?
Yeah, first it went away under a prior leadership team. Then when I got back, I brought the power of that product and the ease of what we had created, and unified those into one platform.
Wow, that must have been an interesting time. And I know you had a lot of users and were really pretty head to head with HubSpot at that point, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was years ago now, but very interesting that you got that back and integrated that, because that software worked really, really well. And I'm sure you've made even more improvements now as you've bundled it in to this whole, just really beautiful suite of products that help small businesses.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
So
thank you for the kind words and for the recollection of that history. But yes,
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I've been around a long time, so
there was a lot going on there during those years of, I call them the dark years. They were pretty tough for a while there. But I love the business. I love what we do. I love our customers, and being able to serve them with a business automation platform that includes those capabilities of
Yeah.
Infusionsoft, but simplified and modernized. And, we've done a bunch of things to make it really awesome for small businesses.
That's fantastic. So let's go back to the very beginning. You had some partners and you were developing things, and you had to sell, right? And so who
Yeah,
was the salesperson in the group? Who
you're
ended
looking at
up
him.
doing the sales at the beginning?
Yeah, it was me. And I'll tell you about those early years. When I joined my partners, we made a deal. At the time, there were 3 software developers and myself, and we were custom software. And the deal was, you guys do nothing but write software, and I'll do everything except write software. That was how I got 25% ownership of the company. But really, the job became selling. And in those first few months, it was really tough. And we were selling custom software to small businesses. And so that's what kind of led us into, I kind of said, look, we need to get to where we have a product that we sell. And so we got focused on CRM for small business. And, we started to do various marketing programs to generate the leads. And then it was my job to sell.
And I'm guessing that they didn't teach you a lot about sales in law school.
Right. Nor in business school. The funny thing is, you wouldn't expect it in law school, but you would actually expect that in business school, they teach selling. They don't. They don't
No,
teach
they
a bit of
don't.
selling. And so I learned it on the job.
Nowadays, I'm happy to say that there are many colleges across the country that in their business departments, they do offer some sales classes. Some are even offering minors and majors in sales these days. So it's good that things have changed a little bit. But yeah,
Yes.
way back in the day, we got nothing, right? So
Nothing.
here you
No.
are, and you're like, how do you sell? So what did you do? How did you figure out to make the first approach to companies? How did that work?
Yeah. I had been in business development in the software business that I came from. And I always had some orientation to sales. I grew up knowing I was an entrepreneur at heart. And, so I sold everything on the playground as a kid, from pencils to marbles to, stickers, you name it. I sold everything. And I did door-to-door sales when I was a kid. So I had it in me to, you know, I, I've always enjoyed, I've always just enjoyed the thrill of offering something to somebody that they value more than the money they're parting with. I just think that's an amazing thing. I'm an economics major, and at the heart of economics, it's this value exchange where it's really cool to facilitate that. And so I've never looked at sales as a bad thing or something that, I've always loved it. So I had that orientation. And when I started selling software, it was a little different because it's a lot harder to help people see the benefits and take them through it. But I just learned it from customers. I learned it from my dad. Frankly, in the early days when I was working on selling, we were struggling like crazy as a business. And I went over to my dad one day to talk to him. And my dad was a teacher, but he also sold. He was a salesman before he was a teacher, and he always kind of had sales in him. And so I went over to him one day, and I was just like, "Dad, this business is kicking my butt. We're struggling like crazy, and everybody's looking at me to sell, and I'm trying, but we are not selling anything." And he's like, "Okay, well, what are you doing tomorrow morning early?" And I said, "I'll be stressing or sleeping. I don't know which." He's like, "Well, I'll come pick you up. Let's go to the gym." And first great lesson my dad taught me in the early days of our business was exercising changes everything in the mind and in the your energy. And he taught me that as we exercised over the course of several months. And in the morning, he really just taught me sales. I remember one day in particular, I had a pipeline of a bunch of people that were just close but wouldn't pull the trigger. And he said, "Well, tell me what you're doing." And I talked to him what I was doing, and I will never, ever, ever forget what he said. And he said, "Okay." And he listened to me. Let me get it all out. You're going to listen to the whole thing. And he said, "Can I give you some advice?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay, you ready?" And I said, "I'm ready." And he goes, "Sell." And it like startled me. I was like, he goes, I said, Dad, did you not, I'm selling. He goes, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're not selling. You're explaining and you're educating and you're giving options, but you're not selling them on the benefits of what you have. Do you? And he started going down the path. Do you believe in what you? And I was like, yes, of course. He's like, well, that does not come out in what you just told me. So if you can't convey your belief in why they should buy from you, why would you expect them to buy? And I'll tell you that speech from my dad changed everything. I started selling after that. We started bringing in customers more consistently, and I've never forgotten the very subtle difference between teaching and selling.
What an amazing lesson, and so lucky that your dad was there for you. I love that he got you to exercise. It's so important. Every everybody should exercise, right? But all of the
Yeah.
CEOs out there listening,
Oh
if your
yeah.
salespeople aren't exercising, oh my gosh, they're going to come in a slump. They won't be in the right mood to sell. They've just got to exercise. It's just so important. Having, doing it for fun, maybe making it a little bit competitive, but make sure your salespeople are exercising somehow.
No
And I
doubt.
just love that your dad told you to just sell. And, a lot of people take sales with a negative connotation. Like you said, you
Right.
never have. And I love that. And a lot of CEOs who don't have a sales background don't want to sell. They feel uncomfortable, awkward about it. But truly, for me, and it has always been this way, selling is a helping profession to me. And I come from a
Yeah.
helping profession. I started in public school for 13 years. I taught special education and I was a reading specialist, and I was all about helping, right? And when I first went into sales, when I started in business with my dad, I had to make that mindset switch, right? Selling is not manipulation and trickery. It's not trying to sell anybody anything they don't need or want. It's simply helping them solve a problem, which
Right.
I was really good at. So
Right.
I became really good at selling. And that's what you were doing too. But there is a bit more to it, right? And even, especially today, but back then, we have to guide them to get what they need, right?
Right.
So, yes, we're educating them, but the selling part that your dad was talking about is show them the path to get what they want so they can be
Right.
successful. And
Right.
that means a little more than educating. You've got to say, look, if you do this, then that will happen. Isn't that great? Don't you want that? Right? You
Right.
want the result.
That's right.
And that is really what selling is about. Oh my gosh. So you were struggling, but then your dad kind of gave you a swift kick and there you went. And after
That's
that, I hope
exactly
it
right.
got better.
It did. So that we started to sell, we started to bring business in, and we started to serve customers effectively. And then the next breakthrough was we started to sell with the power of automation. And we
Mm.
started to use our customers were using our product to automate their marketing and their follow-up process. And really that's the better way to say it. Sometimes we say automate marketing and people think, oh, there's all these different things. When you get right down to it, small businesses struggle to grow because they don't follow up effectively.
Exactly.
And so we started to automate the follow-up process because our customers were doing it and they were saying, hey, this really works. And I was selling to him, I was hearing it, and I believed it, but we were actually only using the CRM component. We were using our product, but only the sort of static CRM component, putting all of the customer information in, tracking the leads and doing all of that, sending out occasional email broadcasts, that sort of thing. But I wasn't actually doing automated follow-up with the leads and the people who were interested. And so I was getting all this feedback from customers who were doing it successfully. And I was finally like, oh my gosh, I got to start doing this. Like, we're selling this. I got to start doing it. But of course, you've got to write everything out. You got to write out your emails. You got to write out the sequences. It takes time to do that. And so literally for about 4 or 5 months, I was like, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. And finally one night I buckled down, began writing it out, and we started to put automated follow-up in place, and that's when our sales went to a whole new level. And that's frankly when I realized, wow, we've got magic. Automation is, when you apply it in the right ways, what it can do is just incredible. And so that's when our sales really took off, and it took us about 2.5 years from the time we started the business until we began really starting to grow with the power of automation. And, part of that's because we were building out our product. Part of that's we were finding our niche. Part of that's we were learning how to sell. Part of, it was all the learning process. But it was a total game changer when we began automating follow-up.
Yeah, that is a game changer, and I think it's something that companies today are still failing to do, right? So
Yep.
it is important. Follow-up is the hardest thing, and interestingly enough, salespeople are so good at so many things. Follow-up is typically not one of them,
That's right.
and so if we can give them some help, it's amazing. All right, so at that point, you're a couple of years in, and now, sales are going really good. Did you start to think, "Oh my gosh, we better hire some salespeople. I can't do
Yeah.
all of this and be the only salesperson."
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. I was trying to do it all myself. And then we started to say, okay, I need to hire someone to give these kinds of leads to that person. I'll take these other leads. And then that person did really well. And pretty soon we hired another person, and then the team just started to grow. And then I was like, well, I got to hire a sales leader because I can't be the sales leader and the CEO of the company. So yeah, there was an evolution from me to a small, to a small team I was leading, to then a sales leader. And then eventually I, was able to pull out of sales and marketing altogether and just be the CEO.
Yeah, and that is an amazing moment, isn't it?
It is.
About how many years ago was that?
So it was about 5 or 6 years into the business. So it's probably been 15 years since I was sales and marketing leader. Ironically, I'm currently the interim CRO as well. So I'm actually back in the seat. As these things go as CEO, sometimes you take on a different role for a period of time. But I love that we're talking right now because I'm very much entrenched again in the world of sales, and I just love it. I love everything about it.
Yeah, yeah, I can tell. Yeah, I can tell. And it's interesting because not all founders love sales, right? But I think they learn to love it because it's just the lifeblood and there is a lot of excitement with it. And I always say that, even when like you did, you said, okay, now I have a sales and marketing leader in place. I can step back from the day to day, but you don't ever really step completely away because as the CEO, you always have a role in sales. It's just that
Right.
role changes as your company matures,
Right.
right? And so, yes, you stepped away, but I'm sure you were still involved with your largest customers. I'm sure you were still had your ear to the customer so you could help your developers to change and improve things. So tell us
That's
about
right.
that. So once you were like relieved of that day to day and you just got to run the company, just right, you got to
Yeah.
run the company and not also run sales and
Right.
marketing. How did your role in sales change and what were the things that you then focused on?
Yeah. Well, you said it. First of all, I've always stayed close to customers and our partners who are, just a really good ear to the ground on the market and what customers need. And so that's always been super important to me. But the other thing is I've always involved in key partners or key customers, key accounts, strategic relationships. So it doesn't ever change. And then of course, when you raise capital, you're just selling in a new way. It's you're selling the business and the vision and the concept of what you're doing. And I think that never goes away for CEOs. We're always selling what it is that we're doing and what we're up to as a company, even if we're not, specifically selling the product.
Yeah, I think that's so important to realize. And I think the CEO has such a key role with customers. Sometimes they forget, right, how important it is for them to be the face of the company, right, which you
Right.
are. And
Right.
I think that led to you writing your book. So I just want to dive into that for a minute because I think that was a really important role that you played in developing thought leadership, right? To help
Yeah.
your own customers, right? From what you'd learned and what you know that they need. And I'm sure that that was just a great marketing tool for your company as well, even though you may not have started off thinking that's what it would be. So tell us, what year was it and how did you kind of start thinking, gosh, I'm going to write this book because people really need this information?
Yeah. Yeah. It was about 7 or 8 years into the business, and we were starting to take marketing automation out to the world as Infusionsoft. And it was a new thing that people needed to understand. And so we'd been talking about it and writing about it and teaching it. People were asking us questions and just became very natural to say, well, let's just write the book. And so Conquer the Chaos, How to Grow a Successful Small Business Without Going Crazy. And it was really about, the heart of it was about marketing automation and teaching there's a better way to do this. And it was great. It helped us to get that message out into the world. And like you said, to bring that thought leadership of how small businesses can grow by automating follow-up. And, it was, I think to me, it wasn't necessarily like we did it for marketing. It was more like, it just was very natural. We were teaching this and it needed to get out there more. And so, I'm glad we did it. It was my co-founder and I who wrote it together back then. And, it was a great way for us to spread the message.
It's an enormous amount of work to write a book while you're also running a growing company.
It is.
How did you guys get it done?
You know what? The truth is, one of our employees, we said, "Hey, well, I'll help you ghostwrite it." So we started with that, but I found that I couldn't actually do that. It was like it needed to be, I needed to really say what I was trying to say, and so it probably was harder doing it that way than to just write it from the beginning. But that's how we did the first time. And then, as you know, I just recently embarked on a revised edition that turned into essentially a rewrite. And that one I did entirely by myself. Didn't do it as a co-founder, didn't do it a ghostwriter. I wrote it myself. Of course, there was a whole team helping me to get it, birthed and brought out into the market. But it's a lot of work. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you wrote the book, you already had a team selling that was out there, and it's really important to you to have successful customers. We've already talked about that a little bit, but I want to dive into that a little bit more. So where was it in the life cycle of your organization where you started to really have what we now today call customer success? I mean, sure, we all had customer support because you have to answer the technical questions, or it isn't working. How do you do this? How do you do that? Right? So you had your customer support. When did you see your team really moving into that? Hey, it's more than support. Once the salespeople are done and we onboard these customers, we really need to help them be successful. Tell us about that.
It's really interesting because we didn't start truly doing customer success the way you've described until just a few years ago. Even in the years of Infusionsoft, we had our implementation team and we had our our tech support. But it wasn't until I got back at the helm where I said, you know what, we need to drive customer success in a new way. And we created customer success managers and a customer success team so that customers come on board and they have a point of contact, a relationship with the company that is their customer success manager. And I just think that when you have a platform that is as robust and as powerful as business automation, you can't just rely on training videos or even tech support. You need a partner that's helping you to grow your business in an efficient way. And so that's what our customer success managers do. I love it. I'm glad we brought them into that role into the business. And it's, to me, the key thing is when you come on board with Keap, you get a success manager that helps drive your success so that by the time you finish your first year, you've been able to transform your business through automation. And, that's just the beginning of the partnership with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that user adoption is so important because people buy things, they're so excited, they want it to work, but then life gets in the way, right?
Right. That's right.
And when you have a customer success manager who is proactively outreaching to make sure that you have what you need and you're learning and there's training and everybody's questions are answered and things get directed, it just makes a world of difference.
That's right. It does. And we, I can see in the days as we built Infusionsoft how that piece was kind of missing. But it wasn't until we said, okay, we're building Keap with business automation where we know this is needed and we're going to make it part of the solution for our customers.
Yeah. So you're a big company today, 22 years in, you've got investors and all of that. It's exciting. Tell us what your org structure for go-to-market looks like. Do you have a CRO? You said you mentioned you are the CRO right now. So it sounds like you were building that structure. So tell us what that looks like.
Yeah, we've had a CMO over marketing and a CRO over revenue, and then we have our that's really the go-to-market. I'm in on an, on an interim basis. I'm the CRO right now, and I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying this period of time. So I'm in no rush to fill that because I'm loving this partnership with the CMO as we take our solution to the market. And we're doing this with business automation. It's a little different than what we did in the past. And so I'm having a lot of fun with it. But in essence, we have our marketing functions, we have in sales, we have a direct sales function, and then we have a partner sales function, and then a business development. So if you think of you know new business as we bring in, it's really in those areas of direct, the channels of direct partners and business development, where those are more strategic partnerships versus our partners, which are certified partners or affiliates, resellers of our product. So that's what it looks like. Obviously, our chief product officer is crucial to all of that. Our customer success leader is crucial to all of that. But and then we have a whole customer success component that also drives revenue. So as the CRO, I have revenue line item owners that are all across the business that have components of our installed base revenue responsibilities that all roll up to the CRO.
Yeah, and talk about demand gen a little bit at your company. So I've been having this conversation with a lot of people lately. Most marketers don't understand demand gen. It's
Yeah,
really a highly specialized. So you hire a marketer and they're going to worry about your website and your brand and your social media and your content and all of that, but they don't really understand demand gen. And I think that's where the breakdown is a lot of times, because they're sending over leads to sales that are really not, they're not sales qualified leads. They're not ready to
right,
talk to a human yet, right?
right.
They're just need to be nurtured. But true demand gen is, it's a niche, right? People either know how to do it or they don't. And you do need marketing and you do need demand gen. So how does that work at your company?
Yeah. Um, Demand gen's part of our marketing. The demand gen leader has a very close relationship with our direct sales team leader, and that partnership is really crucial. Those two work together in lockstep to make sure that the leads that we're producing in marketing are the right fit for what we're fit, basically fit the ideal customer profile. And of course, you never get it perfect. There's always some percentage that fit and some that don't, and you're always trying to tighten that up. But that's really the way it works in our business. Is you have a demand gen leader that reports to the CMO that is partnering closely with the sales director who reports to the CRO, and that partnership at the director level is really critical. And then, of course, the CMO and the CRO working together closely so that we are positioning the company the right way such that we are attracting the right kinds of prospects.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know you're doing a remarkable job because you guys are growing and things are going so well. And so
We can
congratulations on
always
all.
do better.
We can always do better, can't we? Yeah, we can always do better. There is no doubt. All right, well, we are coming to the end of our time, and I'm so sad because I'm enjoying talking to you so much. But I'm going to try something new on you. So you agreed to it at the beginning. Now we're going to see how this works. So I've got three questions that I'm going to ask you, and I know our listeners will be interested to hear the answers to these. And if it works, Clate, I'm going to continue doing it on my show. So let's see how this goes. All right. So the first question is, what is a book that you think every CEO should read?
Oh man. I was thinking about this. I read 6 books a quarter, and so part of this is recency bias, but I reread an old classic um, just recently, and I just thought, man, this is so powerful for CEOs. So I'm a big fan of Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. He also wrote a book called Outwitting the Devil,
Oh,
and that book has a really amazing history to it because it came right after Hill introduced, he did all of his interviews with Carnegie and Rockefeller and everybody,
yeah.
did 5,000 interviews. And Outwitting the Devil, I think, is really powerful for CEOs in particular, especially in the time that we're in right now, because he wrote it sort of as a reflection on the depression and everything that happened and how the country had kind of gotten into a mode of fear. And I look at what we've been through post COVID and where we are right now, and I just think that book is gold for CEOs. So Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill is my answer.
All right, very good. Yeah, some of these books that are old, like I just told somebody the other day to read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, right?
Yep.
Because it's old, but it's such a good fit for today.
Yes.
So I think rereading some of these is really awesome. All
Yep.
right, next question. What is a podcast you love because it helps you think differently?
Yeah, I love Jason Lemkin of SaaStr. I think his podcast is just so on point, and there's just a lot of times things that different, particularly for me, it just helps me as a SaaS CEO to look at things, and so I really love that podcast.
Yeah, I do too. That's a good one. All right, and last question. What does every CEO need to know to win in this market?
This one I think is I think is fantastic because it relates to the first thing that I mentioned, but I think that the thing that we need to know is that we are the leaders of revenue. Um, Even when we have a CRO, even when we have a sales executive, marketing, we lead revenue. And I think in this market, I think there's so many distractions and so many different things clamoring for the attention of the CEO that I think we've got to make sure that we're leading the company on revenue and that it's the most important thing because it's what drives everything for the company. So, that's nothing new and different, but I just look at in this market, I think we have a lot of distractions that cause us to do things that are way too attenuated from revenue growth.
I couldn't have said it better myself, and this is why I work directly with the CEO in my work because they are the leader of revenue, and when they tell me they want sales to increase and they want it to increase profitably and they want it to increase fast, right? I'm like, "Yeah, that's all on you. That is you. You are going to have some people to help you, and that's dynamite, but it is all on you." So I couldn't agree more. Oh my gosh. Clate, thank you so much for being on the show. I just am thrilled that you could be with us and share your story. Again, Infusionsoft is a name a lot of people will remember from way back, right? And how powerful that was. And now it's all bundled up into Keap. So let's tell people where they can find you and especially where they can get your new book.
Yeah, you bet. So they can go to conquerthechaosbook.com to get the book, and they can go to our website, keap.com. It's, by the way, it's Keap, keep with an A. And the whole point of Keap is it's about the tenacity and grit of entrepreneurs. Keep going, it's all about keep growing. So that's Keap. And they can go to keap.com and then they can get the book at conquerthechaos.com.
Thank you so much. And yes, that's what we want all our CEOs to do. Keep going, keep generating lots of revenue profitably, and have lots of choices for your future. So thanks again, Clate.
Thanks, Al. It's been great meeting with you. Thanks so much for the time.
If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.